Hello and welcome to the third fractions lesson. Today we are finding fractions of number, following on from finding fractions of quantities yesterday and of shape the day before. So to achieve this objective we're going to need to know what a numerator and denominator are and know what they mean. We're going to need to use the denominator to find unit fractions of numbers and the denominator and the numerator to find non-unit fractions of number. So we've already talked about shape and we've talked about quantity. We've also talked about numerators and denominators. So just very quickly, let's refresh. Your numerator is the top number and your denominator is the bottom number. The denominator tells you how many equal pieces your whole has been divided into and whether your whole is a quantity. So you might have a total of 6 cupcakes and that would be your whole, or you might have a triangle as we have here. Either way, your whole is divided into 2 equal pieces and that's what the denominator tells you. It's how many pieces we've been dividing into. Your numerator tells you how many of those pieces you have. So here we have 1 out of 2 equal pieces. To find that, we divide our quantity or our shape or whatever our whole is into 2 equal pieces. So we divide our triangle into 2 equal pieces. I have 1 of them. We divide our 6 sweets into 2 equal groups and I get 1 of them, which is 3. Simple enough. So how do I find a half of 8, which is a number? Well, you find it exactly the same way as you find a half of a triangle or a half of 6 sweets. You're going to split it into 2 equal groups. Okay, you're dividing into 2 groups. So let's put one group on this side and one group on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So each group has 4 in. 4 add 4 is 8. 8 divided by 2 equals 4. One of these groups has a value of 4. So 1/2 of 8 is 4. And if you know your 2 times table and your 4 times table, and also if you've been practicing your division facts rather than just your multiplication facts, you should know that 8 divided by 2 is 4. And the reason you know this is because you know that 4 times 2 is 8. Hopefully, given the amount of time you guys have had to practice this over the last couple of months, you should all be fairly happy with that. So, how would I find a half of 6, a half of 10 and a half of 16? I'd like you to pause the video and have a go. When you're ready, resume and we'll talk them through. Welcome back. So a half. Remember, to find a half we are simply dividing by 2. Our denominator is 2. We've got 2 equal groups to split our wholes into, so we're dividing by 2. 6 divided by 2. If you know your times tables, you know what that is straight away. However, if you don't know your times tables, you can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Split them into 2 groups this way, and you'll find that each group, or one group of that, would have 3 in. There are other ways to do it. This is sharing rather than grouping, but we're going to use sharing exclusively for fractions because it does make a little bit more sense. So there are other ways to divide, but we're going to focus on this way for the purposes of this lesson. So 6 divided by 2 is 3, so a half of 6 is 3. 10 we're going to need to divide by 2, and hopefully you should know that that's 5. If you don't know that that's 5, again, you can just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 5 on each side, So one group out of my 2 gives me a value of 5. So a half of 10 is 5. And 16 as well. So we've got, that's a better arrow, isn't it? Okay, so 16 again, dividing by 2. If you know your 2 times table and your division facts that are associated with the 2 times table, you should have no problems with this. For those who don't, you could do your line down the middle and just count until you get to 16, putting 1 in each as you do. Alternatively, you could think to yourself, well, I know already that 10 divided by 2 is 5 and 6 divided by 2 is 3. If I add 5 and 3 together, that gets me 8. So a half of 16 must be 8. So looking at a third, the denominator has changed. The denominator is now 3. So we need to divide into 3 equal groups, which is what's happened here. And we have one of those groups because the numerator is 1. There you go. And that's really simple. And it's just as simple to find a third of 6. So split into 3 equal groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And one of those groups has a value of 2. So a third of 6 equals 2. Now, you may not need to do this. If you know your times table facts, you will know that that 6 divided by 3 is 2. So don't feel that you have to draw anything out if you don't feel the need. But this is just offering a method for people who would otherwise struggle. So now I'd like you to find a third of 6, 15 and 30, please. If you could pause the video and we'll resume. Okay, so a third of 6, that's 6 divided by 3. And that equals 2. 15 divided by 3 is 5. And 30 divided by 3 is 10. Now, let's move on to non-unit fractions. Now, a non-unit fraction, I'm sure you remember, is a fraction where the numerator is not 1. So this is a non-unit fraction, 2/3. And we do it exactly the same as we do a unit fraction. So we divide by 3, we divide by the denominator, and then we times by the numerator. So we've split into 3 equal groups for the sweets and the triangle. And all we need to do is find 2 of those groups, or 2 of those segments. So here I've shaded 2 of my equal parts of my triangle and 2 groups of sweets as well, giving me a total of 4 sweets, and this is 2/3 of a triangle. Now the same thing can be done with number. So 2/3 of 6, well, we've already found 1/3 of 6, we did that recently. So what I would do is I would split into 3 equal groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're in 3 equal groups. I know that I need to do that because of the denominator, and the numerator tells me I need 2 of those groups. So that's 1 group add 1 group. So that's 2 add 2, which equals 4. So 2/3 of 6 are 4. Now, if you know your times table facts, you won't need to draw anything out like this, because you could simply say to yourself, well, 6 divided by 3 I know is 2, because I know my 2 times table facts and my 3 times table facts. And 2 times 2 equals 4. And the reason, of course, I'm timesing by 2 is because my numerator is 2 and I need 2 of those groups. So you could work it out without having to draw anything. If you can do it, that's probably a more effective way of doing it. If you can't, though, use the grid to help you. So using whichever method you prefer, can you please find me 2/3 of 6, 15 and 30? I will and then just resume the video when you're ready. Alright, haven't gone through the answers. So 2/3 of 6, well, we said 1/3 of 6 was 2, so 2/3 of 6 are 4. 15, we said 1/3 was 5, so 2/3 would be 10. And 30, we said 1/3 was 10, so 2/3 would be 20. Finding non-unit fractions. Second question, and we're looking for 3/4. Now, we looked at this before and we said, well, we'd divide by 4, we'd divide into 4 equal pieces, and we'd want 3 of those pieces to make 3/4. That's 2 there, 4 there, 6 there. 2 add 2 add 2. 2 times 3 is 4. Sorry, 2 times 3 is 6. Okay. So how would I find 3/4 of 8? Very simply, I'd do exactly the same thing. So I'm going to make 4 equal groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And in each of these groups, there are 2 little dots. I want 3 of those groups. 2 add 2, add 2, giving me a grand total of 6. And again, you wouldn't need to draw anything out if you know your times tables, because you would simply say, well, 8 divided by 4 is 2, and then 3 times 2, or sorry, 2 times 3 is 6. Why am I timesing by 3? Because my numerator is 3. So have a go at finding 3/4 of these numbers. Pause the video, resume it when you're ready. So looking at the first one, 3/4 of 4. Well, 1/4, 4 divided by 4 would be 1, wouldn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. I want 3 of those groups, so that would be 1, 2, 3. So my total would be 3. That's 3/4 of 4 is 3. Let's look at 12. What's 12 divided by 4? Well, if you know your times tables, you'll know that it's 3. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we've got 3 in each group, and I want 3 of those groups. So that's 3, 6, 9 in total. And as for 20, again, if you know your times table facts, your division facts, you will know that 20 divided by 4 is 5. If you don't, however, you will have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And each one of these will have 5 dots in. We want 3 of them, 3 of these groups. So that's 5, 15, 5, 10, 15. So 3/4 of 20 is 15. And there are lots of questions like this to do on the worksheet associated with this video. So we know what a numerator and denominator are. So the numerator is the top number. It shows you how many parts of your whole you have. A denominator is the bottom number and shows you how many parts your whole has been divided into. And when I say whole, I mean whole with W, meaning complete quantity, number, or shape. Use the denominator, so know what they mean. We've talked about that as well. Use the denominator to find unit fractions of number. So looking at the bottom number to find a unit fraction is where the numerator is 1. Very easy to do. Just divide by the denominator and you will find your answer. For a non-unit fraction, you need to use the denominator and the numerator. So you would divide by the denominator and then multiply by the numerator, essentially. Okay, I hope Feel free to rewatch the video if you need to. Email your teacher if you've got any questions. Have a lovely day.